All right. Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. Hopefully for most of you, if you're joining us from other continents, it's be good morning, good afternoon, or good night. My name is Liana Taylor, and I'll be your host today. And in this episode, it's dedicated to the topic of embracing global mindset and inclusive leadership for international expansion for tech companies. And we'll specifically focus on 3 countries and the lessons learned from our expert panel from there. We'll be focusing on Estonia, Finland, and Lithuania. Joining us today, we have Piret Lutz, Global Head of Talent Analytics from Nortal and founder of Recruitment Thursday. We also have Laurina Girenine, Head of Talent Acquisition at North Security. And we have Maija Meriläinen, Senior Talent Acquisition Partner at Supercell. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Maybe before we get started, would you guys be able to introduce yourself briefly, like who you are, how did you get into your field, and how does your role connect to the topic today? Maija, would you like to get started?
Yes, I'm happy to. Hi, everyone. Good evening from Helsinki, Finland. So I'm Maija, and I'm right now a recruiter at Supercell. I started my recruitment career already close to 15 years ago, and I've been in various companies, various industries, from consulting to in-house to 3 different continents, doing recruitment and working with different kind of people, organizations. And for the last year almost, I've been in the gaming titan, Supercell. How I actually ended up in recruitment is still mystery to me. No one dreams about being a kid when they are kids to become a recruiter. Maybe just my endless curiosity and being such an extrovert that I realized that in this profession you can talk to numerous people every day and ask them any questions, and it's super exciting. And of course, building teams, working with different cultures, working with different people around the world. It is just super inspiring every day.
Thank you, Maija. Looking forward to your perspective. And Piret, would you like to go? Pires, would you like to go next?
Yes, I can go next. So already thank you for the introduction. Yes, I am working today at Nortal, which is the global consultancy and software company. So we do have offices globally all around the world. So this is probably also the answer to your last question, that why I connect with this topic. But on top of that, yes, I am also founder of the Recruitment Thursday, which is the local Estonian recruiters community. So our aim during the last 7 years has been that we are building the knowledge and the network in Estonia for the recruiters. And this is also in English, by the way, so it's not in the Estonian language, because we do have quite a lot of startups here in Estonia, and majority of the cases we do communicate with each other also in Estonish, Estonglish. This is the language that we are using. But my this kind of passion, or how I found myself in the recruitment, is a little bit different than the typical story. So usually people start from the recruitment and then they go to the people and culture. So I started on the people and culture, and then decided that no, those vacation days and contracts are not my thing. I want to actually talk with people. I want to understand what are their desires, what makes their eyes sparkle, and how to actually help my organizations to grow. So this is something that I have done. I have worked also in the recruitment agencies, in the product companies, and yes, as I said, today I'm in the global consultancy and software organization that builds technology for the governments, but also for the private sector.
Great, thank you, Piret. Sorry, I think there was a typo on the slide here.
No worries.
I'm checking my notes. I'm like, oh no. It's a bit of a pet peeve of mine too, is when people misspell my name. So I'm sorry about that.
This is actually a funny story that usually when people whose native language is English, they quite often they pronounce my name pirate, and then I say usually that it's not a pirate, but I'm okay with that as well.
Well, that's probably a compliment, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, and then last but not least, Lorena, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My international name is Laura, Laureen, or Lithuanian way is Laurina. And yes, I'm a talent acquisition sphere for about 12 years already. And last 5 years, I'm leading talent acquisition function in a cybersecurity unicorn in Lithuania, in Vilnius. We have headquarters in Vilnius. This is a company named Nord Security, with the best known product probably globally is NordVPN. So here I am leading around 30 nice, smart, and geeky talent acquisition partners and sourcers, and we have offices also all around the world and hiring people globally. So this topic is very actually close to my daily work, basically. And how I end up in recruitment, my story started with my dream, as maybe similar to Maya. Then I understood that I'm the person who like other persons and to discuss with everyone. And I just started my own recruitment agency, first of all, and I end up in a unicorn here right now. So there's a story like this.
Great, welcome and thank you. And I'm a big fan of NordVPN. That's my
Yay.
of choice. So
Nice. Ambassador.
yes. I'm not going to give too much of introduction about me because today is not about me, but I do have some connection to this topic. I am myself originally from Finland and Russia too as well, and I have been involved in international expansion of, previously I worked for NASDAQ private market when we expanded from the US to the European markets. And most recently, I've been working at Mambu, where in the time that I've been there, we tripled in size and opened offices globally. So I've seen kind of what that brings into the companies, but obviously you guys are the experts, but I'm just looking forward to this fruitful conversation, and hopefully we can find some good nuggets of information for our participants on the call today. Just to kind of run through some of the topics we'll be exploring is some of the challenges in international growth, including understanding the complexities of scaling tech companies in diverse markets, about attracting and retaining international talent, navigating some cultural differences, inclusive leadership in international tech companies, and while also at the same time maintaining company values across borders. It's a pretty broad agenda. Before we kind of jump into things, just few organizational topics. So as I mentioned, this call will be recorded and we'll be sharing the recording after. And then also all of the participants will be muted throughout the whole session. But if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat box and we will cover them towards the end of the call. Then, just to give you a little bit of context, who is BeamReach? So this whole conversation is brought to you by BeamReach Inclusion. The founder, Ola, couldn't join us today, but she is really happy that everyone is here today and we have this wonderful panel of experts. A little bit about BeamReach Inclusion. It's a diversity and inclusion consulting company based in Europe with access to about 25 consultants speaking 7 different languages. The focus is on 3 pillars: education and leadership development, ISO audit reports, and strategy design. You can look on their website for a little bit more details about each of those topics. And bonus points, so every person that attends today's session qualifies for a free half-an-hour consultation. So feel free to reach out to hi@beamreach-inclusion.com the email is on the website too, as well. So, you don't need to, if you fail to write it down, but it's hi@beambridgeinclusion.com. And, feel free to reach out. Also feel free to browse on the website. There's additional resources about inclusion, diversity and inclusion, and also some recordings of some of the previous podcasts. All right, before we get started, I'm going to stop sharing this slide because I'd love to see our wonderful speakers. And if you could, I would love to maybe make sure that the chat function is working. Could you just write in there for those who are joining us, where are you joining us from, which country, so we can kind of get a little bit of an idea of who's all here. All right, we have Elaine from California, I'm assuming. And yes, Elaine, will this be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded, and we'll be sharing the recording with you later. We have Jurga from Vilnius, Shruti from Detroit, Michigan. All right, so I think, okay, it's daytime. I'm just trying to think of the time zones here. Ivo, EST? Estonia. Oh, okay, there we go. I thought Eastern Standard Time. I was like, okay, that's maybe a little bit too specific, but okay. We have Yael from Jerusalem. Angela from Estonia as well. Great. Any other countries representations? Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm joining from Berlin, Germany as well. So hopefully can give a little bit of perspective from here. But although, having lived in so many different countries, who knows whose perspective I can give at this point. A little bit of everyone's. All right, excellent. So let's get started. We're going to go through a couple of questions, and our panel of experts will share their perspectives. But as we're kind of going through it, feel free to drop some questions in the chat, and we'll try to get to them at the end. All right. So just on the topic of international expansion, so what does a global mindset mean to you, and why is it crucial for tech companies looking to expand internationally? Who would like to kick us off?
I can.
Well, go ahead, be ready.
So if you talk about this kind of global mindset, then for me, what do those stand for is definitely for the reflection of the company culture. It's the growth strategy and also in the general leadership mindset. So what do we do? How do we act? What are our goals, and etc. And I think that the need why companies are seeking for the global growth or the expansion, the reasons may be behind many different things. But I think that in general, they are kind of summarized in the one key factor. We are seeking for the competitive advantage. And the competitive advantage at that side can be either through the clients. There might be a reason that they want to diversify their revenue streams. The local markets are either not big enough or they are too saturated. And the second reason I think is why we are also here probably today is the talents. So why we are looking outside of our maybe core locations, we are seeking for the talents. Either the local talent market is too small, or we need for a specific skill set that is not existing in our location. So those are maybe my key points.
Yeah. Well, I can continue from there, actually. Well, what does a global mindset mean to me? If I start is that, well, I represent a tech company that is a B2C, so aim for consumers, and Supercell makes games that are made for everyone, millions of people around the world. So if we want to actually entertain and make these cultural phenomena for millions of people around the world, we need to have employees, the makers of these games, who represent these minds. So there needs to be game developers, artists, marketeers, whatnot, who understands all of these mindsets around the world. So I would say that I've been working in a couple of consumer tech products aimed for global we need to have global mindset to understand our users and to entertain them. So it's just not a question of if, it's a question of yes, indeed. And also for a practical sense, it's so much more fun to work with multiple different nationalities. At Supercell, we have about 650 employees from 45 different countries. And it just makes life more fulfilling to talk with and interact with people around the world. So these are the main things, but of course, diversity brings creativity, and as Piret said, it's just a competitive advantage. But definitely, it's just a must, and it's just how it is in my point of view.
Yes, and I can actually also share my thoughts on that. From business perspective, a global mindset, and from my perspective as a cybersecurity ambassador, means that cybersecurity in general is a borderless business. Threats are borderless. So our board members, our co-founders from day one, when I started 5 years ago, they had a credo. They had a credo that think globally and act locally. So from day one, our business started from different regions already, even though we have a small tiny office in Vilnius here. So, and actually research shows that like McKinsey Institute research that companies that have that global mindset, they have more productive and 25% increase the revenue growth in general. So I believe from business perspective, this is a must if you want to be competitive in the market. And from my perspective, as a person who works in this global company, I think that this global mindset means for me the adaptability and flexibility, first of all. So we as a company, we need to have a culture that is able to adapt and be flexible to different type of communication and expansion of the business.
Thank you. And I think one thing, a common thread that I'm hearing is although it's sometimes maybe it's in diversity and inclusion is kind of nice to have, it's actually makes business and strategy sense. It actually adds to the bottom line. Like Maya was saying, it's, you know, understanding your customers better and building better products. You know what Pierre had said about being competitive, have competitive advantage, really looking in the market and finding the best people that have the skill set. So I think anyone here on the call who would like to position that, you know, their company should have more of a global mindset, it's not just any more nice to have sort of thing. It really is, you know, brings additional money and revenue to the company as well. Very nice. All right. Let's move on to just in general, you know, some of the emerging trends. Obviously, we've brought you a panel from here because Lithuania, Estonia, and Finland are often seen as leaders in business and diversity inclusion. And although, you know, very small countries, but in general, very good at embracing diverse talent. So I would be curious to hear from you, like what emerging trends should leaders in international tech companies be aware of to stay globally competitive? It may be something you can share, you know, from the perspective of your country or your company, or just in general from your experience.
Maybe it's easier if you assign someone to start, so we don't have this awkward silence
Good. All
after
right,
every
let's
question.
do it. Maya, would you like to share with us?
Yeah, well, there's different levels actually when it comes to global mindset. So if we talk about, let's say, relocating people to Finland or opening new entities as a Finnish company. But if we now think about, if I think about Finland, so if I think about in the context of relocating people, it is very important important to, let's say, market to people, understand what the talent nowadays need and want and what they expect. And to me personally, because we only aim to find the best possible talent around the world, it's not easy to say, hey, you need to relocate to Helsinki from London or New York or San Francisco or Tokyo. So kind of it's important to understand what this talent wants and needs and expects, and how can we meet these expectations, and not always say, yeah, beautiful nature. People want something else as well than just quiet and nature. But really, and of course, Finland has been able to meet this. For instance, we have a flat tax rate for foreign experts who come, so it's more predictable. We have everything written in English, and I know that at least Estonia is really good in digitalization as well. So not too much bureaucracy and things like that. So these kind of making things easy and smooth are really important. But then, of course, when it comes to opening new entities, it's new emerging countries, let's say Africa, Nigeria, and all of that. Is just, there's so many opportunities over there, and of course new emerging technologies. But well, this would be a monologue to go over. So just saying that there's many different levels when it comes to global mindset and different things to take into consideration.
It's interesting that you mentioned the tax rate, because I know, for example, Netherlands, in order to attract international talent, they've made tax favorable tax rates for new incomers, new talent. Germany is also right now discussing such proposal. So I think it's definitely leaning in on your government and having those partnerships that they see this as priority, and they can make it easy. But Maya, just a quick question. Do you, for Supercell, do you expect everyone to move to Helsinki, or do you also have offices in other countries, or is remote an option?
Yeah, good point. So we do have actually 4 offices. So Helsinki is our main office with majority of the people here, but then we have office in San Francisco, Seoul, and Shanghai. And we also have nowadays these kind of remote hubs. So we do have employees in Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Spain, and UK, and Japan as well. So it's kind of a mix and match, but it depends a lot on the team as well. When team does creative work, it's super important that they are very, very much face to face, quite a lot, but it depends on the role a lot.
Thank you.
I may pick up this from you, Maya, because I have a little bit different side of the story in that sense that I believe that Estonia has been running among those 3 countries when it comes to relocating people from all over the world to really, really cold Estonia and explaining like why people should actually move here. So I think that during the last years, especially after the COVID, we actually do not relocate that much anymore because the remote work, do the companies like it or not, it is here to stay. And I think that regarding this kind of emerging topics, the remote is definitely, I wouldn't even call it as this kind of emerging trend anymore. It's quite standard. And I think that the companies who can allow their people to work remotely, they are winning the talents, because not everybody wants to relocate because they have their friends, their family. Of course, it depends what is the age group of the candidate or the person that you are hiring. But if you're hiring already in this segment where they have families, where they have small kids who go to school and etc., then it is already harder nowadays, I would say. And coming from the experience as well that I have been with Nortal now, this is my 6th year, just running on my 7th, so to speak. So when I joined Nortal, we had approximately 600 people already quite distributed between different countries. And today we are more than 2,000, even in more countries. So the teams or the countries in itself, they are quite lean and mean in that sense. So no big, crazy big teams in one specific location. And one of the things that during the last years, what I have seen, especially from the talent acquisition point of view, is definitely the fact that people are not that keen to relocate. And this will put companies into the fact that if I want this type of talent, then I need to provide them their employment contract in this location where they are. So the taxation part that you, Maya, mentioned as well, it is important in that sense. So, but how do you hire those people then? If you don't have office in, I don't know, let's say in Spain, how do you do that? So you have those meat companies who act as a employer of the record, and yes, you can do it like this. But this is definitely, this has been the merging part of the growth companies, especially in the tech side. And we do have a couple of really good big players on the market whom you can use as a company if you want to grow globally, really, but you don't have the legal entity in those locations. So, so yes, remote is
Very, yeah, interesting point of view, because I actually, sorry to steal the show on this a little bit
no worries.
sideline, but I've been running into this conversation because actually my previous workplace was remote first tech company, and we focused only on hiring people remotely. But with Supercell, as we have such a strong culture, and the culture is relying on communication and meeting people, we've realized that, of course, at some roles we can hire people remote, but with some roles it is crucial to work together. And well, that's our kind of conscious decision. And I know that in many cases it wouldn't work, but with our case, with such a strong culture, it is a conscious decision, and multiple people actually are willing to do that and actually want to be at the office and meet the people. But definitely, I love it that nowadays there's options for different types of people.
Yeah, I want to agree on that as well. We at Nord Security, we also are very intensively like to be in the office and to have people around, but also we have a hybrid model of work, and we also have people that work remotely for us in specific positions in specific locations. And we already know how to hire them, what type of contract to offer, and how to be more attractive employer. We also have offices all around the world, but the bigger ones are in Vilnius, Warsaw, Berlin, and Amsterdam, and UK. But going back to the topic about emerging trends, this is a very related, I think, thing that I want to highlight, that in my opinion, that emerging trend is decentralized teams in the future. It means that our companies, and in general tech companies, other companies, should learn how to let those decentralized teams to make decisions locally and be more autonomous, rather than to keep them in, I don't know, in one place, in one office, in headquarters, starting from, I don't know, hierarchy from top to the bottom. So I believe this is what's emerging in our company, that our leaders, they are distributed all over the world, and they have decentralized teams around them already, step by step. And I believe this is going to be the future for many bigger companies. As girls mentioned, that remote work is here to stay, hybrid work is here to stay. And I believe this is an emerging trend, together with the talent shortage. And now we have already a very hot topic for a year and a half or a little bit more, AI. Which artificial intelligence might be another trend for cultural diversity in global teams. And those tools are definitely should be able to help attract, identify, reduce skill gaps, and help to hire more talents globally in those decentralized teams. So this is my part of the question.
Yeah, Lauren, I think would be good to kind of piggyback off of that. How are you currently using AI, or how do you foresee to be using AI to help build the teams?
We are learning, we are testing. Our company it's very well known for A/B test activities. So we are using different types of AI tools, but one of the most probably well-known is LinkedIn Talent Insights. It also has kind of a good way of finding those talents, identifying it. So this is probably well known globally, and there are a couple of more tools I could share maybe later on. I don't remember all the names, there are many of them right now, but what we're doing right now, so we're testing it one by one.
Excellent. Yeah, if you could feel free to maybe share after, we can, as a follow-up email to all the participants, we can share those too as well, because it's always good to see what's out there, who's using what, and getting a little bit of feedback.
I think it's very important for now in all, probably in all positions, not in only talent acquisition, and in HR and legal, in finance, to try out AI tools just to understand how to make your work more efficient. So it's accessible for everyone. Basically, there are different types of tools to try out. So I encourage everyone to do those tests for themselves.
Thank you. Maybe just to kind of backtrack a little bit, there's Maya, you mentioned that the company you worked at before was remote first, but with Supercell, you're really looking to, certain roles need to be in your headquarters and others. And I think everyone here on the panel probably also has that kind of thinking too as well. I don't think any of you are remote first, right? So if you can maybe talk a little bit of how do you make those decisions? What is it that's really critical that needs to be in a specific hub, and what else can be a little bit more diversified?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I actually relate to what Laurina said about kind of decentralizing. So for instance, we have new games, and then we have live games, and all of our live games, so games that everyone are playing and have huge organizations, they are all operated from Helsinki. So all of these teams work together and very closely together. But then, of course, when you start developing a game, you need just a small team. And with these like small game teams we have around the world, but they are in one location. But how to make the decision? It's a really good question. Depending a little bit, because Supercell is known for our independent teams. So each team actually decides on how they operate and how they work. And the leadership team doesn't have a say actually on this. So some teams, they prefer to be very much at the office, very much close-knit and working very closely together. Some teams are more open for different settings. So it's up to the team to decide. And they themselves, they are quite democratic. So they vote and they decide how is the best way for them to work, because we want to just support the great minds to work as good as they can. So we're just supporting and they create the magic. So and of course, for central teams, we know that because our culture is so based on communication, collaboration, and for some roles, for instance, some might start as some might be not wanting to relocate to Helsinki completely, but we bring them to, let's say, 6 months or 3 months to Helsinki to build those networks, build those relationships. And it's then so much more easier for them to work on a long term when they know people thoroughly. But it's definitely up to the role, up to the lead, up to the team on what is the ideal setting. And failure and error, that's how we do it.
Yep, definitely. I also have to say that it depends. It depends of the role. It depends of what is the role focus. If it is the client-facing role in that sense, and the client-facing role in consultancy mean that you have lots of meetings with your external partners, your clients, and etc., and also with your team. Then most probably if your client is, let's say in Finland, and you're hiring the project manager or account manager from Malta, then having the face-to-face is not that easy, and it is crucial. So definitely agree here. But I would say that the decision also comes if you are hiring really niche skill set, which is not potentially located in the team's location, but you still need this person. So as I said earlier, we haven't pushed for the relocation that much, but we do have a recent case as an example where we are relocating one person from Latvia actually to Oman. So it is in a specific case, but a majority of our cases, it is the hybrid. They choose when they go to the office. We all have offices in all of our locations, but people can choose if they want to work in office or they want to work in the home office. And this is the opportunity that we are offering all to our new hires as well.
Great. Okay. I mean, it sounds like one topic that comes up quite often is communication, and especially when we're talking about hybrid or remote work. Maybe we can kind of go in that direction a little bit. I'd be curious to get your perspective. So in kind of a hybrid remote work setup, like what are some of the best practices that you have for sustaining global collaboration? And also, how can leaders in globally expanding companies effectively foster cross-cultural communications too as well? I thought it was interesting, Maya, that you mentioned this decision-making done by the team, which is very Scandinavian egalitarian decision framework. And I'm curious, maybe if there is a little bit more meat to that as to how that's being decided, if it's, I don't know, so maybe the leaders within the team kind of come on and they decide to take on this role. But in general, if you could speak a little bit more about communication, that would be really helpful for the team and how to best implement this.
Maybe I could start. Yeah, so I believe that there are two ways of communicate when you have remote or hybrid teams. And one of our ways at Nord Security, what we do, we base our communication on our cultural company values. And this is important for us. We include those values during the recruitment process. We live with those values in everyday life. We bring people on onboarding sessions here to Lithuania, to our headquarters, to meet each other and to understand if we share those similar values, definitely, or maybe those values are controversial. So this is important for us, and we base our communication on that and our goals and our strategies. And another way is probably for those smaller companies who doesn't have a maybe value set in their organization. I think they supposed to follow those fundamental universal leadership principles like transparency and accountability, basically. So to foster that is one of the ways, as we also do in our organization, by implementing those two factors in our value system. I don't know, girls, maybe you have also those values in your companies and use it for recruitment purposes and for work and communication purposes.
Of course, I think that each and every company, if they are seriously taken themselves, then they have the values. Regarding the communication or this kind of how to foster the cross-cultural communication, I would say that the first and the foremost is actually understanding different cultures. So the values, yes, they are important in that sense. But as an example, if you are going and starting to build from the scratch in the totally new environment, then you need to understand that what is the local culture, what is the local communication style, what is the local view on the hierarchy. So how are decisions made, and what is considered this kind of open and transparent communication, and what is considered quite rude communication style. As an example, Estonians are quite straightforward. We speak our mind quite easily, but in some of the cultures, you need to tone it down a bit. You need to understand that you cannot say those things out in a manner where how you are doing, as an example, maybe in Finland or maybe in Estonia. So you as a leader, you need to understand what is the country where you're going.
There are probably high context cultures and low context cultures, right?
Exactly. So and this is, I wouldn't even say that this is the part of this kind of growth mindset, but it's rather this kind of good habits to have when you are leading the team. So there is the cultural understanding, and I think that on top of that, also building the inclusive organizational culture, understanding that you are including people from different culture, different backgrounds. You understand why, how they are working, and how you can actually empower them. I think that empowering your team members, no matter where they are, is important. The open dialogue and active listening. This is part of the leadership in every culture as well. And on top of that, we talked about a little bit this kind of decentralizing or centralizing approach. Each and every company is making their decisions, but I think that without the local leaders, you cannot expand. So you need to give the power also for your local leaders. So balancing is something that I would say. And when growing into the new markets, new countries, I would say that maybe one thing that is missing nowadays quite often in the world is the common sense. It's not that common anymore. So use common sense when you're going into the dialogue or into the discussion, and the same also when you're going into the growth.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to both what Laurina and Piret were saying. Well, first of all, the values. It's super important that when we do recruit, we have cultural aspects that we have identified that are non-negotiable. So no matter how brilliant the person is, there are things if they don't agree on our values and share them, it's a no-go. But also understanding that we do constant acknowledging and celebrating the differences in our culture. We have Finns, we have Americans, we have people from Asia, we have people around the world. So there are so much differences on high and low context on communication. And we have constantly people, the best speakers in the world, to educate our leaders and everyone within the company on how to collaborate in a multicultural environment. And it's important to acknowledge and understand, but also build based on the common understanding. So for instance, our company is a very low hierarchy company. The leadership team sits on a hallway next to the toilets, and every other team has their own room. And basically in our company, you can approach to anyone, and no matter who opens their mouth in the meeting, they are respected and understood and listened to. So it's kind of the company culture is larger than individual country cultures, and that's how we build it. But for practical things, first of all, you need to kind of come up with when company communicates. We have like weekly on every Friday, and it's 3 p.m. on Helsinki time, because that's more or less suitable for all parts of the world. But also we have English as the company language on everything and only. So no matter who are talking, but if someone who doesn't have the same language enters the room, it's automatically turned to English. And everything in company communication is always in written, and there's always a recording as well to avoid all the misunderstandings. And also we have built this joint glossary so that people could, get the inside humor and understand the long company culture and the legacy of that. And also we want people to meet face to face at least once a year. So we just 2 weeks ago had a company offsite where everyone from the company were spent 1 week in Rome and really met and saw face to face, and we had lots of talks and things. So openness, and one of our guidelines is clear, is kind. So really clarity in communication and understanding that English is not everyone's first language either.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I think all of that, I'm sure, resonates. I think one kind of a bit of a let's talk about maybe the dark side. Obviously, we want to get the best talent, the best skill set. And have you had an experience where you had a candidate who, from skill sets, from CV, from experience, was brilliant, but just does not fit with the communication style of your company? You mentioned a lot about values, about leadership styles. How do you navigate this? Do you highlight this to the person and maybe see if this is a training opportunity, or do you think this is something fundamental that cannot be changed?
Well, I can continue. That depends, of course, but for us as hierarchy is such an important topic for us, and it works both ways. So if a person is coming from and is deeply rooted to a culture that you cannot actually speak up to the CEO, or you respect so much on the more senior employees, it is very difficult to survive in our type of organization where everyone are constantly talking and reaching out to everyone. And also on the other side, for instance, on how you behave with people who are supporting you. So for instance, we organize trips. So everyone who joins Supercell, and especially Helsinki office, they are brought to our office for the last meetings. And it's a crucial thing on how you communicate, how you interact with the people who support you and organize your trips and take you to the taxi, and all of that matters. So it's not just how you interact with the people who are in the decision-making position, but with everyone. But this is a very Nordic kind of culture as well, with the very extremely low hierarchy. But one couldn't survive if they have too much respect on more senior people. So that's a crucial at Supercell.
I actually have the real life story now when you were talking about it. It's not related to my current employer, but one of my previous one. And we had the situation where we, for the interviews, we actually flew the person into Tallinn. And we had 3 final candidates in our office in Tallinn. They met with all of the stakeholders, all the interviews were held. And eventually it was the decision-making time. And all of them were pretty much in the same level. Technical skills, the passion for the role, everything was there. And then it was one evening when I started to talk with our office manager, and it was also during the time. And then she mentioned that she had really unpleasant experience with one of our candidates, and she really felt that she wanted to share this with me. And we, of course, talked, but based on this experience, we also said no to the candidate, because I truly believe in the same thing that you also, Maya, said, that you have to be a good person, no matter who is the partner with whom you are exchanging the conversation or you are in the situation. So the values, the human values, also need to be there.
Yes, I want to share exactly similar experience with in our company, and we also try to invite people to our offices for the last interviews, and we had cases when we say thank you to the next time, and we didn't go to the hiring process. But and we also, as I mentioned, we work a lot on our values. So we have them included in our recruitment process, and we actually did some exceptions in our history, let's say. And what we noticed that during the trial period, if the person doesn't fit those human values, as Peter said, and our company values, they're not successful here. They don't fit into the company in general, and not even from our perspective, but from their perspective, they sometimes don't feel very good, and they leave company earlier if they share different values, basically. So that's why how we do it, we usually use it everywhere, and it worked for us very well. Values.
That's interesting. I was I'm kind of thinking, so your perspective is that it's something that you really kind of come in with and it's not trainable. Just trying to be a devil's advocate a little bit. Have you had maybe, I don't know, it could through training that you've been able to turn it? It sounds like, Lorena, you mentioned that it's just, you tried and it didn't really go, but I'm just curious. There must be something that we could do. For example, I can maybe speak to from my experience at Mumble. We operated in Latin America, in North America, EMEA, and APAC. And each of those hubs started to operate kind of independently because we realized there were some nuances to those regions. So at the end of the day, they were not, I don't think we actually intervened with training so much. But as kind of let the leadership there internally kind of take on that role and drive their business how they saw would be best. But at the same time, the leaders of those departments, they were brought in together periodically to bring the kind of be able to speak the same language and be able to transfer those values down to their team. And I found that worked quite well because having said that, when I interviewed, I was involved in interview panels with some of those colleagues that were in different continents. If I would have made the decision for my team, probably wouldn't be a match. But for that team locally, that was a good match. So I'm not sure. Maybe we can dig a little bit deeper into that because I think it would be good to maybe find some solutions.
Yeah.
I think the question maybe is that how do you validate the cultural add? I'm not using the cultural fit on the purpose, but how do you validate the cultural add? This is the question, and maybe there is also this kind of how much you can change the human core values or the core behaviors. And potentially the question here is also that is it the role of the employer to do that? Or this is something that needs to be taken as an ownership of the person themselves, and we just can feedback.
Yeah, basically, when I was thinking that tango takes two people to dance, right? So it's not only employer, not only the company, but also the candidate itself, the employee. So usually what we see, we need to come up with some kind of commitment from both sides. And that's why we do exceptions, definitely. And we have some success cases. But what I've noticed at the long run, the human values, sometimes they're not, you live with them all your life. And if you try to learn, you go against it, right? So I don't know, maybe I'm a solo player from my nature, but I come to the office and they want me to be a team player, but I'm not from my nature. So I can learn, but inside I don't feel very good in the long run. And I cannot stay in the company for a long period because I don't feel that it's me. So this is like very philosophical, maybe way of explaining. But if we're talking about human values that are reflected in our company values, team addition, right? Team fit, team values. So I believe that they supposed to be at least not contradictory, absolutely contradictory. Then you can try to learn, or I don't know, to teach the person and to go further with this person in his career path. So I believe that it takes two parts, two sides to make a commitment here.
And of course, it depends quite a lot. Some things you can learn if you have the motivation. Sometimes we taking some risk that maybe bringing in someone who doesn't have that strong English skills, but we believe in them. They are motivated. We offer them additional English classes and kind of and helping them to learn or any other skills. But I agree with Laurina that there are some things that you either have or not, depending, but it's important that you then kind of educate people recruiting as well who interview that what are and of course everyone should be very clear understanding on what is the company culture, and then support them on probing on these things that we can actually evaluate properly. Is this person a true add to our culture or not? So it requires quite a lot from recruitment and people work as well to support the interviewers in making the decision.
I think that here also it's really important that each and every organization acknowledges that recruitment is not just a job for the talent acquisition team. The whole organization is recruiting. So yes, we do a tough part of the job, but it is the whole organizational this kind of responsibility to safeguard the culture and bring in the right people with the right skills and also the right cultural add. But this also needs a training on the organizational side. So I think that each and every one of us we have in our organization, if you go to one person or the other person in different location, they will describe the culture or the essence of the organization differently. Even there might be a really strong culture, but still they each and every one takes their this kind of what they understand. I love the saying that we are the summary of our experiences. So we can understand stuff through our experiences. If I say trust, then for me, it may mean one thing. For another person, it may mean a different thing. So that's why the culture also needs to be described, that what it's not just a word. If we are transparent, what do we mean by that? What is the essence of it? How do we express it? How do we act in it? And maybe I'm also answering my own earlier question here, that how do we validate the cultural add? It is through the question, it is through those different interviews, it is through the behavioral questions. But to be honest, can we be 100% sure each and every time? No.
Of course not. And you cannot put a USB stick to a person
Exactly.
and kind of get everything from their brain. It's impossible.
Would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. But I highly agree with you that it's the whole company, and we have built this interview frameworks, and we have built in a way that's all of our, because we have defined our culture, because that's so crucial for us that we have defined it, and each interview process is making sure that we probe each value part. We have 3 important values, and we have written and worded carefully our whole values, and then each interview is kind of focusing on these. And we have set up questions that people can use and define it carefully, because we cannot assume. Assumption is the mother of all mistakes. So you cannot assume that people understand things similarly. So that's why we need to be very clear on communication and wording. I agree.
And as people are changing in the organization, you need to do this constantly again and again.
Yeah,
so training
exactly.
your new interviewers, training your new team members. So it's the job that never ends.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. I think that was a really good discussion. We're coming at the top of the hour here. I would like to give a chance to anyone of the participants to ask any questions. Feel free to drop it in the chat, or if you'd like to, speak, I can unmute you too as well. So also free to drop it in the chat to say, hey, you would like to ask a question live. But while anyone is kind of putting any questions they may have, for our panel, if you could just share just one piece of advice you can give to companies aiming to strengthen their global mindset, what would be your number one thing? Like, this is especially, maybe thinking about future trends or something, priorities that other companies should be thinking about. What would be your final takeaway?
I would say, firstly, invest in continuous learning about the cultural intelligence. So this is very important while scaling globally, not only from business perspective. And from business perspective, I think that it's very good to do a homework and do the basics. First of all, it's just check the economic, regulatory environments, markets, and be sure that you are up to date when you're scaling in different markets. And of course, if we're talking about trends, try to understand the future trends and help and enable local teams to make autonomous decisions.
Thank you. Piret, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I would. First of all, I would say that put a strategy in place. So why you are seeking the global growth, and what is the thing that you are trying to solve through this? Because global growth may seem this kind of new and fancy thing that solves everything, but maybe it's not fixing things that you are seeking to fix. So first of all, understanding why, put the strategy in place, and then figure out what is the market where you actually need to go, not where you want to go, because everybody is going there. But if you're seeking for a talent, then is the needed talent actually there? Is the needed talent developed there? Are the universities providing you the needed skills also in the future? And another thing as well, maybe even controversial, because I'm working in the talent acquisition, before you're going and starting to hire people outside, look into your own team. Maybe there is already someone who is really keen and interested. They may not be ready yet, but maybe they are really motivated to learn the needed skills. So yeah, that would be my recommendations.
Yeah, great recommendations for expanding to new areas. So if I give a very practical advice to relocation, and that is family. So it's super important to focus on the whole well-being of the family, support the spouse, and think about it's a team decision. So if a person relocates and they have a family that they bring along, support them and make them feel happy. And we do have an in-house person whose main job is actually support the spouses, support the families. So remember, a human being, an employee is a full, they have a full life and not just the work self. So family is a key as well to remember.
Yes.
Indeed, I think, when it comes to, I think one of you mentioned, I forget who, depending what stage in life folks are, they might be less willing to move. So if you can make it more attractive or more, let's say, aware of their individual circumstances, then I think that would help you attract additional talents as well. Great. I think, let me see if there's any questions. Jurga, would you like, I can unmute you too as well. If you'd like to share, I'll unmute you, and then, if you're comfortable, feel free to ask your question directly. There we go. Okay.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm hiding behind the scenes because I'm in a homeware. So just using late hour to listen to very interesting panel. My experience mostly related with the corporate executive search, but I am also kind of stepping into tech companies and recruitment and talent acquisition for them. So it's interesting world, of two sides, and it gives an opportunity to educate, the corporate world based on the learnings with the tech companies and vice versa as well. So there is a knowledge, but this is actually eternal question, which I stated here. This is hybrid work leadership, and how, your companies, each of them, how do you find executive skills in managing hybrid and remote teams? Because it's easy to hire probably, individuals, but still they need kind of, medium, like leadership or high level leadership. I don't know. So how, in your each opinion, so what is a must have for such leadership? What do you think?
I can start
Thank you.
maybe. I think that skill in communication is something that you cannot. If you don't have it as a leader, then you are in the wrong place. So, but maybe regarding this kind of remote hybrid setup, I just participated a week ago also in one of the webinar where we talked about it, and one of the things that I said there as well is that I think regarding all of this remote hybrid, what we have done, we took this previous leadership style and we just put it in online. No, this kind of further adaptations to it. So what it becomes is that everything that needs to be discussed becomes a meeting. And there is so many meetings. We all know this joke that this meeting could have been an email. And I think if I also say about this kind of that communication is important, is that the thing that how do we say how clear we are in our intent in our sentences, because sometimes I am also guilty in that I'm writing really, really fast, and I have gotten the feedback from my team like, so what do you mean? What do you actually mean with this sentence? So it's not only for the leaders, but it's also everyone who is working online, is that you need to be thinking through really clearly what you want to say and how you say it. And if something, if you feel that something is amiss, then talk to the person. Do it in online, fly on site, talk with them on site. But definitely communication is one of the things, and do not mistake communication with the micromanagement. The communication is not only to check if the tasks are done. You can check them in the systems as well if you are working in a company where you have good systems, but also check in your person. Like they may be quiet during the meetings, they may look not happy. Reach out, try to understand that what they are going through in their life. You don't see them in the coffee corner anymore. So try to understand that what is going on in their life as well, if they are opening up and if they want to share.
Yeah. I can jump to that because one word I had in mind was empathy. And it's one of the most important qualities as a great lead, is to have empathy and understanding of everyone. And where do you find these leads? Well, it's depending, but like if I would go for international companies that work already internationally, because then you kind of develop the skill set by maybe trials and errors on how to, because I think every one of us have made mistakes in communication and working with international environment, but that's how you learn, and it's okay to make mistakes and learn from that. But yeah, great communication, empathy, I would say, are the most important things.
Yeah, not much to add to you girls, but how we do it and how we let our remote leaders to explore our company. So basically, we bring them to live meetings with teams. They are have onboarding sessions, and they fly frequently to see each other. So the communication part is getting easier while you know each other better. And of course, those leaders, we all survived COVID, and we all already know what's the online working environment is, but not all of us are enjoying it and know how to do it properly. So we do leadership trainings on that. We teach them if we see some gaps. But of course, as the girls mentioned, there are some basics like communication, empathy, right? So you just have to bring it with you if you are the leader. Otherwise, remote communication will be a bad decision for you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jorga. That was a very good question. I think it kind of sums up everything a little bit in a nice package. And as Piret mentioned, having leadership style that we're used to, let's say pre-COVID, is not going to necessarily work in the modern times. So you need to adjust, bring in your, update your toolkit. And if anyone wants to move into leadership, this is some of the topics we need to be thinking about. How can we motivate a globally diverse workforce? Be it through empathy, through additional training, communication, meeting on together periodically, reaching out on little micro conversations to touch base. All of those are part of the toolkit, and I think we need to kind of lean into that. So I think we're getting quite late here. I really appreciate everyone from the participants, from the panel too as well. And let me just add everyone here to Spotlight. I think took me a bit of time to figure it out a little bit, but now you can see everyone here, and then maybe just thank you, ladies. Thank you for your time, and thanks everyone. And as I mentioned, we'll share the recording, and if there's any resources, for example, you mentioned some AI tools you're using, or Piret or Maya, if you have anything else you'd like to add for a summary email to our participants, we'd really appreciate it. And we'll also share it on LinkedIn too as well. So thanks everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.